Mohamed Salah swaps Liverpool for Real Madrid. Barcelona raid Juventus. Which Turin star are the Catalans taking? Aston Villa boost their attack signing Omar Marmoush. Rodrygo leaving Spain. Two top Prem clubs are hunting the Los Blancos forward. All that and loads more in today's video. Smash that like button and let's dive into the freshest transfer rumors. The situation around Antoine Semenyo is steadily entering its final phase. Based on info from sources near the talks, Manchester City are incredibly close to signing the 25-year-old Bournemouth winger. The citizens are prepared to trigger the release clause of £65 million, and the player has already agreed personal terms with the club. Financially and contractually, there is barely any doubt left here. The single thing preventing the deal closing right now relates not to the stance of City, but to the decision of Bournemouth. Head coach Andoni Iraola is insisting that Semenyo must play in the next match against Tottenham, per Team Talk. Specifically, this demand caused the slight pause in completing the transfer. The player's reaction to this situation is fully expected. Sources claim Semenyo was deeply unhappy with events, yet he decided not to force a direct conflict or refuse to play in matches. His reps have already officially told Bournemouth that they do not think it is right to field the player considering the transfer agreement reached. However, the feeling is that Iraola will get what he wants, and the Ghanaian will play one last match for his current club. One point stands out. The transfer itself is not in doubt. Semenyo will join Manchester City this January regardless, simply a bit later than first planned. Football logic makes this switch perfectly clear. Semenyo is playing a very strong season at Bournemouth and is ready to deliver instantly at a higher level. The squad of Pep Guardiola lacks depth and flexibility in attack right now, and the 25-year-old Ghanaian is a left winger able to play in any of the three roles in the front line. He can add goals and creativity, which City objectively missed this season. In this run, the team is too heavily reliant on Erling Haaland, and this has been clear more than once. When the Norwegian is shut down or drifts out of the game, the citizens' attack becomes much harder. Semenyo in this context looks like a precise addition for the final third. A player able to take initiative and make chances without a strict tie to one leader. There is another factor too. Semenyo is fully adapted to the Premier League and needs no time to settle. This is not a bet for the future, but a player who can slot into the system at once and boost quality in advanced zones. In a tight fight for the title, such a factor has special worth. Manchester City is right now in a direct race with Arsenal, and any boost could prove decisive. Signing a 25-year-old winger at such a time looks like a smart and timely move. It is no fluke. Semenyo is now called one of the most consistent attackers in the league. For Bournemouth, this story is obviously painful. The club is upset with the situation, but largely lacks room to move since the clause is in the contract and City are ready to pay it. Now the Cherries face the job of finding a decent replacement for a leader and keeping their level in the season's second half. Interest from Liverpool, Chelsea, and Manchester City says a lot on its own about Semenyo's level. The move to Guardiola and one of the most successful modern clubs looks like a lawful step up. Regular game time will be a matter of competition, but he has surely earned the path to this career stage. Next, a new level starts for him, with trophies, pressure, and daily work with a coach many consider one of the best in history. Mohamed Salah's future at Liverpool looks far less straightforward and is becoming a frequent topic of internal chatter. Formally, the Egyptian has a contract, yet the club is already considering parting ways with their attack leader. Not just in the abstract, but potentially already this winter. There are quite a few reasons for these talks. Tension with Arne Slot, times when Salah missed the squad, and a role in the current system that isn't fully clear, strengthen the sense that the parties have reached a major turning point. This does not look like a conflict in the usual sense, but one thing is obvious. The Egyptian's old status of complete immunity is gone. With this in mind, Salah's representatives started exploring options and sent signals to several top European clubs. One was Real Madrid, where the need to boost the attack spiked due to key injuries and a packed calendar for the season's second half. In Madrid, Salah was viewed pragmatically as a short-term fix needing no adaptation. Experience, stable results, and readiness to make an impact immediately were logical arguments. A loan until the season ends was discussed as the main scenario. This was seen as a compromise. No sharp financial moves for Real Madrid, a chance to reduce internal tension for Liverpool, and a chance for Salah to reboot his career at the very top level. At one point, this option stopped seeming unrealistic, and the transfer talk around the Egyptian started to carry weight. Simultaneously, Roma showed interest in Salah too. The Roman club knows the Egyptian well, and feelings towards him there remain warm. However, Roma have limited finances, so only a loan was looked at here. The only route with a full transfer and huge wages remained Saudi Arabia, but it seems Salah is not rushing to close his European chapter and is ready to stay at the top level a while longer. Per Defensa Central, the player's agents offered Salah to Real Madrid themselves, which truly sparked internal discussions at Valdebebas. The idea got an extra boost after the injury to Kylian Mbappe, when Salah was seen as an experienced backup option. But the maths quickly cooled the interest. A loan from January to June would cost about 12 million euros gross, and Madrid felt that sum was too high for 6 months and did not match the club's winter logic. In the end, the option was shut down. From the Liverpool side, the situation looks calmer than it may appear from the outside. Salah's contract is valid until 2027. True, tense moments occurred during the season, including when Slot left him out of the start, but relations smoothed over later. The club is really calculating long-term exit plans, yet a January split does not look real now. The bottom line is simple. There was contact, interest was discussed, but the transfer remains extremely unlikely. The cost is too high for Real Madrid. The timing is bad for Liverpool. And these details, rather than the headlines, best explain why this story will likely just stay as a discussion. Barcelona realizes right now that next summer, the club will have almost no freedom of action in the center-forward market. Should the expected scenario unfold, and the Blaugrana decide to split with Robert Lewandowski, then the replacement won't be picked just for a big name. The key thing will be the balance of value and cost. A serious budget is not expected, and this straightaway cuts out a big chunk of options. With this logic, the arrival of Dusan Vlahovic looks totally explainable. According to La Gazzetta dello Sport, specifically Barcelona is now seen as the favorite in the fight for the Juventus forward. What is more, the Serb himself leans towards continuing his career at the Catalan club. For Barca, this is crucial, since within tight financial limits, the player's own wish often outweighs any other points. Friends, do not leave this video without your reaction, as it helps the channel work a lot. So hit the like or dislike button right now and write a comment. We are grateful. Vlahovic's contract with the Turin team is valid until the summer of 2026, and this adds flexibility to the situation. This is not about an urgent and pricey buyout. Barcelona has already done a few rounds of talks with the player's camp and thinks agreeing on personal terms is real. The Catalans are ready to offer a salary close to his current one, about 12 million euros a year. Technically, this makes Vlahovic one of the top-paid players in the squad, but context matters here. Basically, he is seen as a direct swap for Lewandowski, one of the few players whose wage today goes outside the club's internal scale. So we aren't talking about changing the whole finance system, but about a spot swap inside a built model. Like this, the option looks way more grounded than trying to hit the striker market with price tags near 100 million. Yet Barcelona faces competition here. Other European clubs are closely watching the situation around Vlahovic too. Interest is kept by Bayern and Milan, who also see the Serbian forward as a potential attack boost. The competition promises to be tough, especially considering the player's age, his status, and the total lack of quality central strikers on the market. Looking at the numbers this season, Vlahovic played 17 matches for Juventus in all cups, scored 6 goals, and made 2 assists. This isn't superstar level, but you can't call it a failure either. It is more of a solid working stat for a striker who steadily contributes and stays wanted at the top level. The strategy is coming together. Barcelona isn't searching for a perfect dream forward. The club is looking for a rational solution that fits reality. And with current facts, the option with Vlahovic looks like one of the most logical for the Catalans. Doubts remain regarding their ability to finalize talks given the rivalry and money limits. But the fact that Barca is currently the favorite is telling in itself. Aston Villa looking at Omar Marmoush adds another massive layer to a packed January window. As Team Talk first broke the news, the Birmingham side is seriously exploring a deal for the Manchester City Egyptian. Tottenham were interested before, but City is taking a maximum hardline stance and refuses to release the forward. Marmoush only landed at the Etihad a year ago. In January 2025, he joined from Eintracht Frankfurt for £59 million on a deal until 2029. On paper, this was a long-term play by Pep Guardiola. Good age, clear potential, fits the system well. But the first season in Manchester unfolded quite differently than hoped. Technically, Marmoush's stats of 9 goals and 4 assists in 40 matches don't seem like a flop. A closer look changes the picture. This season, the Egyptian has only 2 Premier League starts and 1 in the Champions League. Effectively, he is deep in rotation, mostly warming the bench. In City's competitive attack, this became a steady trend. Not just a phase. This lack of match practice is the root of the rumors. Marmoush is 26, which is prime time for an attacker. Sitting out now hurts. Villa's interest makes total sense here. They need attacking depth to maintain momentum and see his status as a rare chance. However, Tottenham makes the layout messy, and City remains super tough. Manchester won't rush to lose Marmoush, especially to Aston Villa, who are now a direct rival this season, so resistance will be higher. For City, it is a matter of power balance. Guardiola wants to block any departure. He values Marmoush for rotation with the crazy calendar. Conversely, PSR rules limit Villa compared to the big clubs. But Unai Emery has made it clear that if there is space to move, they will buy in January. If Aston Villa wants to prove their ambition, stealing a Manchester City forward is the ultimate statement. Marmoush's issues in Manchester are not unnoticed, and rivals are monitoring the situation. He is a top player with potential, currently stuck out of the starting 11. Continued time on the bench will surely force him to consider a move. The biggest obstacle stands firm. Financially, this transfer for Villa would be extremely hard. Rodrygo is still very much a target for a few Premier League clubs. Rumors increasingly suggest that he is really close to leaving Real. According to Diario Sport, the Brazilian wants to leave the Santiago Bernabeu and will decide on a new club very soon. He would be happy to leave as early as January, but most likely he will have to wait for the summer. Right now, the most realistic options look like Arsenal and Manchester City. In the summer, interest in him was very high, but back then, Rodrygo decided to stay in Madrid and fight for a place in the start. He fully backed his decision with hard work and training in games. However, he still couldn't nail down a spot in the main squad. The competition in Real's attack is just off the charts. Getting into the first team on our channel is much easier. The stats show many of you watch regularly but are still sitting on the bench without a sub. Don't repeat Rodrygo's fate, so get into the starting lineup right now just by hitting the subscribe button. Alonso would definitely approve of such decisiveness. Throughout this season, the player's frustration with his position is only growing. Rodrygo's class is doubted by no one, but he lacks regular, decisive actions to become truly indispensable. Many European clubs are closely monitoring the situation, but are waiting for a clear signal that the player is ready to move before making official offers. At the moment, it is Arsenal and City that look like favorites in case of a move to England. Liverpool's interest has noticeably cooled, which leaves the Gunners and Citizens in a better position. For now, Arsenal is slightly ahead, but this advantage could vanish quickly if the club doesn't show resolve. Reports suggest Rodrygo regrets not leaving last summer and does not intend to repeat the same mistake. The ideal option for him is a move right now in January, but after Mbappe's injury, this looks practically unrealistic. Real is unlikely to let the forward go at such a moment. The only club that could afford a transfer around 100 million euros now is PSG, who already have 3 attacking positions perfectly stocked. Meanwhile, in the last 12 months, Rodrygo's market value dropped by 40 million and is now just 60 million euros. Such a price drop could become a very profitable deal for many clubs next summer. To be honest, the situation for Real looks strange as a winger of this level lost almost half his value. But Rodrygo himself seems to have decided everything. He doesn't want to remain a hostage of rotation and is ready for a move to the Premier League. It comes down to who makes a concrete offer first, Arteta or Guardiola. The situation is clear, as Rodrygo is halfway out of Real and will change clubs unless something totally extraordinary happens. The price of 60 million makes him one of the main targets next summer. The battle will likely unfold between London and Manchester. Squad depth, which was supposed to be Real's advantage, is actually pushing Rodrygo out of the club. Attention now turns to how fast Arsenal or City move to official talks. The player himself has already made it clear he is ready to leave. Rodrygo is determined to force a resolution.